taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week. This is Augmented Reality, presented by the Triple S League.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Augmented Reality Podcast for May the 8th, 2019. My name is Asheninity, and this is your source for news, leaks, and insights about games in the gaming industry. This is the Wednesday evening edition of the show, midweek, where we recap what's happened in the first half of the week, and man, they decided to dump everything today. Well, actually, that's not true. There's been news trickling out on a variety of topics over the week, but some fun Cyberpunk stuff today, and it's always exciting when we can do a Cyberpunk show, so we're glad we can bring that to you. We've also got news about the Borderlands 3 drama that's happening, and some more stuff about our favorite company, EA. So, definitely keep your tab open for more news on that. And I say keep your tab because I'm trying to find alternatives to saying, stay tuned, because I find that to be just a horribly cliched way of saying keep on watching.
It's also old as
well, crap, so. It's been horribly outdated my entire life. Like you haven't tuned in to a TV in ages.
That's like pre-analog.
That's pre-TV. That's like radio. That's like old radio. Like stay tuned right here for more excitement from the Green Shroud and putting the bad guys in jail. I don't know. I can't think of a good one off the top of my head. But anyway, I used to love listening to those old radio shows. They're great. All right. Hello to everyone who is active in the live chat. Niv Ozzy, Angelo T, Overlord 580, Kazra Azad, Ghost Fixer, Godzilla. That new Godzilla movie actually looks kind of interesting, I have to say. Captain Dammit, welcome. Great.
They were trying to make a series out of it, and I think the King Kong one didn't do great. The other Godzilla one did kind of okay, but they were going to do this whole extended universe thing, but
yeah,
I think they're trying to push it along a little bit faster, because it's like you really have to get lucky in trying to build one of those multi-movie, multi-years. It's over a decade. Yeah, it's over a decade since the first Iron Man movie. Good Lord.
That is true. That is kind of crazy. But yeah, the new Godzilla, with the whole concept of them having to set him free to fight all of these other humongous monsters. I don't know. It could be terrible, but the concept intrigues me. Great Dear Hombai Casa Dodecahedron III. Welcome, Solo. Neon Arcade, shout out. And Tommy Esch says, hello, it's 4 a.m. here in Poland. Polish listener, welcome. We're glad you're here with us. Sorry the time doesn't work all that well, but unless you're, up nights anyway, in which case it works just perfectly. All right, so some interesting things to talk about today. We had the CD Projekt Red merch store went live this morning, and there's some pretty awesome stuff. We did a video about it, some great looking stuff in there. To be honest, the Witcher stuff looks better than the I feel like there's overall the Witcher offerings they have are better than the Cyberpunk stuff, but that's not surprising in the sense that Cyberpunk 2077
I have more notes on that. I have more notes on that, so make sure I mention what's going on there with their selection.
Well, I mean, we can talk about it right now.
Well, cool. All right, so their selection is this is only the first little preamble. There is much more stuff coming. There is a great deal of more interesting things on its way for the Cyberpunk selection. There's going to be a lot more statues coming, so that's something to keep your ear to the ground about. It's not out yet, because if they were to show some of this stuff, it would spoil.
It would spoil stuff
that we're going to be seeing in a few weeks here. That, and they also sold out of a ton of their stock in the first 5 hours. They basically sold out of a big selection of some of their shirts, some of the sizes and stuff like that sold out almost immediately. So yeah, I would say it's a success when you open the store up and you're immediately emptied of pretty much all of your stock. So
yeah,
that's something to keep your eye to keep in mind as before it opens up to North America, and they kind of followed that up with this other tweet which we'll get into. So, but yeah, as far as the stock goes, and as far as what they're offering, obviously there's more stuff coming. What they have in stock right now is pretty low, and is not really like it's a lot of like the really obvious stuff, things that have been super confirmed. There's obviously more stuff coming, so just kind of keep your eye on that. So yeah, and we're getting real close to E3, so it's coming up shortly here.
Yeah. So yes, unfortunately, the store merch is currently only available for residents of Europe, but it is going to be open up to people, addresses outside of Europe in the near future. Of course, they're obviously going to have to replenish quite a bit of stock for that. I mean, if they sold out of a whole ton of stuff, and that's just Europe. Obviously this stuff's in really high demand. My favorite thing was what great Dirham, etc., Dohedron III mentioned here, them having the beep cap. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. that made me laugh out loud.
It was pretty good.
That was great.
I almost went and immediately bought one, but then I realized, it's not in North America yet. It's still in Europe, so I'd have to send it to one of my friends, and then they'd have to send it.
I wanted to buy one too, but my daughter bought me a hat recently, and I would feel horrible buying a new hat right after she got me one that she had picked out for me. So yeah, no beep hat for me for a little while, but I might point that out to somebody next time I'm having a birthday or Christmas or something. Yes, the beep cap is dope. There was also, the Witcher stuff. They have a phone case with the Wolf logo on it, the Wolf School logo, which looks just badass. And they have an awesome statue of Geralt. They have lots of awesome stuff. So definitely check it out if you're a Witcher fan, if you're a Cyberpunk fan. They've got some awesome stuff. Now, of course, just a little while after they tweeted out that their store was open, they sent out another tweet that says, you can see it on the thumbnail for today's show, it says, "Soon, my friend, soon." And of course, the memes flew. There were just tons of
Michael from The Office got his normal, like, oh my god, it's happening.
Yeah, people are like, is this another beep? What does this mean? Is this and I believe was it Neon Arcade or was it Last Known Meal? I can't remember.
What?
Who pointed out, I wonder if these are song lyrics, and it's possible because there is a song called "Soon, My Friend," and it has lyrics that it's a little hard to make out, but it says, you'll be mine someday, or you'll be mine Sunday,
or you'll be mine someday Sunday. So which is they are a French group, so you know what they say about the French.
What do they say?
No, I'm leaving a pregnant pause there.
We're just not going to implicate ourselves.
So it's. I mean, it might be a bit of a stretch, but at the same time, it's this is CDPR, and they love throwing out these these little things, and then they followed the tweet up with, because lots of people were like losing their mind about this. They threw out another tweet saying, you can read that one.
I don't have it in front of me, but it's something to the effect of, we were just talking about, when the store will be available outside of Europe. Winky face emoji.
Yeah, ... winky face.
Yeah. That's that's so it's really inconclusive, because they say that the "Soon, my friend" was a reply to all the questions about when is the store going to be available outside of Europe, but the tweet was not a reply tweet. It was just a tweet. Like, it wasn't a reply to somebody else's tweet asking about it. Then that would have made it very clear. That would have given some much needed context. But just tweeting out "Soon, my friend, soon" on its own, I don't know. It's very interesting. And so, are they just playing mind games? Are they planning something soon? Was it just a reply to the questions about the store? Who knows? This is Cyberpunk, or this is CDPR, I should say. Who knows? Nothing conclusive. We won't try to read too much into it, but I mean, if at the same time, it would not surprise me if something happened on Sunday, which, incidentally, is when the Cyberpunk 2077 community podcast happens, a collaborative effort between us, the Mad Queen, the Neon Arcade, and Last Known Meal. Sorry, I was distracted by Neon's comment saying they're playing with our emotions, and I read it as they're playing with our emoticons, but they're kind of doing both. They're playing with our emotions with emoticons.
I am distracted by one of CDPR's latest tweets, which is a Pokemon being pushed out and shut out of a room, and then it like throws its body up against the glass window to stare at the kids inside.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't know where to go with this. I don't know what they're trying to like I said, this is CDPR. They're really weird over there.
Yeah.
They've also got some they've been tweeting memes out like crazy day. Goodness sakes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I've got the exact wording of the tweet was, "We meant CDPR store in the US. What else did you think?"
Mm-hmm.
Wink face. Yeah. I don't know. That's very suspicious. But yeah. Anyway. So, anything more to say about that? Did you want to say anything specifically about the selection that's available in the store? I mean, you did talk about that already a little bit, but
yeah, for the most part, this means that things are moving closer, faster. Remember a little while ago when I mentioned how there's going to be a bit of a pause, and we weren't going to be seeing too much movement until probably the first week of May. Yeah, I'm just throwing that out there so that everybody can remember that I basically said that. So I didn't basically say that. I said that exactly. So things are moving along as
well. Jokes on you.
Always been.
Jokes on you. It's the second week of May now. First week of May ended yesterday.
Yeah. After the first week of May. I
am just teasing, of course.
But anyways, the point is that we're moving closer and closer. There's going to be more stuff coming out before, way before E3. So, hold your horses, because it's gonna get wild and it's gonna get crazy really fast. So, I'm my goodness, the things that they tweet out, like, goodness sakes.
Well, they know everybody is going to go nuts over. That's the thing. They are playing with our emotions regardless of what they do, because they know their community is just going to go nuts over any little thing they tweet like this. Any ambiguity, people are going to dig into to the nth degree. And of course, I mean, we're guilty of this too, because it's fun. Let's face it, it's fun.
It's a hell of a lot of fun.
We're super hyped for this game. We're super hyped. We like this company because they're not doing terrible things that we hate, like a lot of companies that we love.
Yeah, like we're going to get into with some of these other companies.
Maybe. So, yeah. So, speaking of which, do you want to talk about the EA thing first, or do we want to knock Borderlands out of the way?
Well, let's knock Borderlands out of the way.
Okay. So some drama.
Kind of short.
Yeah,
and we did talk about this already.
We talked a little bit about this on the previous podcast Saturday morning, but the drama surrounding Borderlands 3 is continuing, and there was some interesting revelation. Well, I'm not going to say revelations. There's some interesting stuff said on Twitter this past week. We're not going to dive into it in too much detail, but there were some interesting accusations made against Randy Pitchford, and it's I'm just looking something up just to make sure I don't.
It's like a running
right,
meme.
Okay.
Like, seriously,
David Eddings is
there's always something going on with Randy. So yeah.
Okay, so David Eddings is the former voice of Claptrap in the Borderlands series. Claptrap, of course, the funny little robot who is kind of one of the highlights of the game series, and he is also Gearbox's former vice president.
Yes, and he is now working over at Rooster Teeth, heading up their games department. So they're and just as a quick note again. So Bernie Burns had a number of years ago said that he suspected that within by 2020, the biggest portion of Rooster Teeth would be their games department and what employs the most people and what gets the most funding, because making games was something that they were starting to get into more and more, and they've been bringing on some really, really amazing, very talented people. They've been making careful selections when it comes to heading up that department, and they're doing pretty well overall. So that's just kind of back up where he's coming from. So yeah.
Well, they're a big player now. They're no longer just the
well, they haven't been for years. I mean, they put out I think between all the shows, they put out a show basically every day. At the 1 to 2 shows almost every day. So that's a huge department for both animation and podcasts and stuff like that. But they did the recent new series with David Tennant. So that was cool. I haven't finished watching the series. I started watching. I'm stuck at episode 3 or 4. But that was really, really amazing. It was really good. And the guy from Black Panther was in it too. So it's they're really rocketing away there. And kudos, because they more or less deserve it. And they're fairly level-headed, most of them.
Right. Anyway, that's kind of tangential. So David Eddings no longer works for Gearbox, but when he did, he was the voice of Claptrap in the Borderlands series. And there's been a lot of questions about why was he replaced as the voice actor for Claptrap in Borderlands 3? Because it's a new voice actor. And so Randy weighed in on this on Twitter. Now, I kind of feel like this just should not have been addressed. I think it would have saved a lot of drama and a lot of conflict if they had just said, we had our reasons, David had his reasons, and we're just not going to comment on that. It would have kept things amicable. But Randy Pitchford, the head of Gearbox currently,
and oftentimes his own worst enemy.
Yeah, he decided to weigh in on it and said that Eddings had been offered the role, but turned it down because it wasn't enough money. But they said it was a very he said it's a very generous offer. Eddings has disputed that, saying that it's not a generous offer. So there's this kind of back and forth. But then David Eddings came out, basically really went after Pitchford a few days ago, and came out with some pretty profound accusations. We're not going to get into them. If you're at all interested, you can look at David Eddings' Twitter, you can look at Randy Pitchford's Twitter, but bottom line, I feel like the way that all of this came out has been nothing but bad. I feel like Randy needs to hold his tongue more. He needs to not be so defensive. But Eddings is not looking good in this either, because the way that he just kind of spewed everything on Twitter and said, the kind of the dramatic, I've never spoken about this before kind of a thing, but now I'm going to tell everybody on Twitter about it. It does kind of make him look like just a disgruntled former employee. Now, I don't know where the truth lies as far as the accusations. But, if it's that serious that, really, if you care about these accusations and they are the kind that you could pursue legal action over, why are you not doing that? And if you're not willing to do that, why are you bringing this up now, if not just to hurt Randy Pitchford out of spite because you don't like what he's saying? It just doesn't look good. Whichever way you swing it, it just doesn't look good to me, and I think it's...
And again, because Randy is his own worst enemy, this stuff, a lot of it looks credible. And so, it
could be credible, and I'm not disparaging the fact that, the accusations could be 100% true. They could be embellished. They could be outright false. We just don't know at this point. No. They do look credible because Pitchford is kind of a loose cannon, as a lot of people are saying in the chat right now. Randy Pitchford is kind of a loose cannon, and he is just way, way too defensive. absolutely way too defensive.
Yeah.
You know,
Which, and now he has said that he's on the spectrum, and I mean, I totally believe that because it's extremely obvious that he is, and control of one's mouth is something that we on the spectrum have a bit of a difficulty doing from time to time. So it's totally understandable. He's also obsessed with a few things. Now again, I'm not a die-hard fan of Randy. However, I am a die-hard fan of, innocent until proven guilty and that kind of stuff. And I don't like, and the way that we defended him before has been basically like, hey, we don't like it when people use attacks, especially like the really, really serious ones, to try and bring down opponents just because you don't like the way that they think or the way that they stand for certain things or what products they do or for any reason. It's like a false attack is a false attack is a false attack, and it's absolutely unacceptable to do anything other than treat people with the same level of respect that you would like to be treated with, and be innocent until proven guilty, not guilty until proven innocent. So for the most part, that's where we've stood before, and I still stand with this now. And I don't want to get too much into it. Randy, like we've said before, like I've said a number of times before, he's not the best boss. He's not the best PR guy, and he is certainly not the best CEO when it comes to running company. His team has put out several good games, and I will say that Randy personally is extremely nice, and he's always going out of his way to make sure that people are entertained when they're near him. And
he
this
tries.
is something
I'll give him that. He does try.
Yeah. Now, I mean,
but...
now you don't know him as well as I do. He goes out of his way to host parties at his house constantly. He is involved with many up and coming talents in the magical world and actors and other people as well, and he goes out of his way to help them without cost. So overall, I'm hesitant to try and Spectrum or Captain Dammit and Solo. What I meant is he's self-identified on the autistic spectrum, and like I said, I believe it because it's really obvious, especially like the more you actually know the guy.
We should further clarify that you self-identify on that spectrum as well, and
I don't self-identify on the spectrum. I have been diagnosed on the spectrum.
Right, but you've been very open about that, and so it's it's always I just feel the need to clarify that because there are those who throw around the term autistic as an insult or as a derogatory term, which
or as a defense for them, acting out of norm too. And I hate all those things. It's quite annoying. But in this case, we'll take him at his word, and we'll look at what else he's done in the field of the games that he's worked on. Yes, he really screwed up on more than one game, and he's done things that are shady at best when it comes to the way he's hyped certain things up. And it's the way it is, right? It's the way it is. So for a game developer of his caliber, he should know better with what he's been doing, with what he's been saying, and he should get off his high horse from time to time and take a few minutes to, especially because he is quite kind of a loose cannon. He should know good enough to have somebody that's there to help translate for him, or get a computer to help translate for him. Something to help bridge the gap between what he's saying and everything else. Mm-hmm. And this really showed up with his whole microtransaction thing. He's like, there are no microtransactions in this game. There's DLC and character stuff.
He's got his own nuanced definition of what microtransactions
means. That is a nuanced definition, because he says, we're not trying to nickel and dime you, but we're going to nickel and dime you for costumes. Does that mean that there's not a special currency that you buy? Does that mean that you don't there's not a like loot boxes versus just straight up buy loot boxes. Sure, but at the same time, that's the same thing that, Fortnite has, and they're I mean, you can sink well over $100 into Fortnite every year and not even realize you're doing it. So if that's not nickel and diming you, then I don't know what is nickel and diming you. Like,
well, I think that, like the implication or like the connotation of nickel and diming, it's like a company that is going to squeeze you for everything you have for things
like EA.
that you need. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, just to be as fair as possible to him, I think what he means is that they're not going to charge you microtransactions for things that you need to enjoy the game or to play the game well.
Yeah. Solo. So it's basically he's okay with cosmetic microtransactions and believe that they are not counted as microtransactions. He believes that they are classified as miniature DLC.
Which is
now,
it's not how people actually use those words, and so I agree that like having somebody to help him communicate would probably be a good idea. Yeah. And to maybe rein him in a little bit when they're on the when they're on stage. Like not that he's obviously, he just seems to have a little bit of trouble getting the words out to say exactly what he means. And also, like, with that magic trick he did at the other event we watched, it went on way too long, and
it was messed up.
He didn't need to show 25 different cards from the deck. He could have shown 5 or 6 and given you an idea, just so just somebody to help him along, to help him rein things in and make sure he's communicating what he intends to communicate. Right. So that is true, but all of this drama is just it. Actually, we had a question earlier that I'm going to look for now in the chat. Someone was asking, is this going to affect the sales for Borderlands? Oh yeah, Luke the Goon. Do you guys think this will at all hurt the sales of Borderlands 3? All this is kind of piling up.
Yeah.
On top of all this, we have, of course, the fact that Borderlands 3 is an Epic exclusive.
Yeah.
So I mean, there is a lot, and that I think
it's only an Epic exclusive for the next 6 months. Well, after it comes out. I'm going to tell a lot of people, just wait until it comes out on Steam. Nothing will send a clearer signal that they need to, shape up or ship out than waiting until it's on Steam. If 2 million of the potential buyers waited until the Steam release to buy it, that will have a big impact. If almost everybody waited until the Steam release, that would be, a bullhorn of a
very clear message. Yeah,
that'll send a huge message to both Epic because Epic is not slowing down. Like we're not going to get into it too much, but there's been a lot of stuff. The whole Linux thing. Apparently, Epic and Tim over there is not a fan of Linux at all. Thinks that it's basically just running away from problems. And he up and decides that he's basically going to cut off support for a ton of games on the Linux system because he can screw over Steam at the same time while doing so. It's like, wow, dude, wow, that is one bold move, like seriously. So, anyways, we're not going to get into it because it's kind of like. It's kind of an ongoing thing, and we have a lot to talk about today. So ultimately, this is basically where it boiled down to this. Randy tries hard, and sometimes tries way too hard. He constantly is stepping on himself, and what he needs somebody close to him that he can really trust and rely on. Unfortunately, several of the people that have been in that position have ended up, basically leaving him, and some of them have made two of them have made pretty heavy accusations against him. So I can see why, especially recently, he's been kind of like on the defensive path, and he's starting to see, enemies where there isn't any. and he's starting to make more enemies when he should be making more friends. And so that's all in all, that's basically what this boils down to.
Right.
And I hope he stops. He gets somebody that he can count on to kind of help him through some of this stuff, because I've been in his position before, and it's not fun. It is not fun. And the studio makes good games. I think, hopefully some of these more crazy rumors are not as true as they've been made out to be, and hopefully this doesn't end poorly, because ultimately, especially for good single player games, and good single player games that you can play with other people, where it's not a multiplayer game, it's a co-op game. We're missing really good co-op games, right? So that's something that would be seriously helpful, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But as for whether or not this will actually hurt the sales of Borderlands 3, personally, I don't think the Twitter drama is going to hurt the sales of Borderlands 3. I think it's too big for that. I don't think people care too much about how, those kinds of things. I think the majority of gamers just want a good game, and Borderlands fans are going to come back to Borderlands regardless of all the drama. Now, I think that the Epic Store situation has a better chance of hurting their sales, but even that, I don't know if that'll, even the people who are who are boycotting Epic, some of them may cave because it is Borderlands 3, because it's this game they've been waiting for a long time. Now, what's different about Borderlands 3 from other Epic exclusives recently is that it is only an exclusive for 6 months, as opposed to the full year that a lot of other games have been locked down for. So we'll have to see. Telling people they only have to wait 6 months to play it on Steam, that might make people a lot more willing to stick to their guns and boycott Epic and wait for the Steam release. But we will have to see. We'll have to see on that. But anyway, I don't think the drama's going to hurt the sales. Personally, I don't know if you agree or disagree, Cyb, but I have a feeling Borderlands 3 is going to do exceptionally well, and it looks really good.
yeah, no, I mean, it's still going to do well. As far as what some people are asking, should you wait for it? This fall is going to be really heavy for good games. Trust me on this one. It's going to be really, really heavy for good games. So don't pre-order. Definitely don't pre-order. Please don't pre-order. Just stop pre-ordering. Unless you know the game is unless the game is your topmost game, do not pre-order digital copies. Pre-order exclusive, physical stuff, because it's exclusive physical stuff and you're a collector, right? However, for the love of God, just don't pre-order.
Sir Sog Muffins asks, the real question is, do gamers really want yet another looter shooter? Well, I think in this case they do, because it's Borderlands. They want a good one. Division 2 was all right, but it's having some problems. I know, Saib, you mentioned last podcast that you're taking a break from it until they fix some problems. I haven't really been playing it, so I can't comment. But Borderlands is kind of the granddaddy of looter shooters, and it's a highly anticipated title. So I think I do think it'll do really well. I know, looter shooters have gotten a bad rap recently because of Anthem. And to some extent, Division 2 did a lot better than Anthem, but we have to wonder if some of its success was just due to the fact that people were comparing it with Anthem and saying, wow, this looks like gaming gold in comparison. So how much of that factored in, it's really hard to say. But I do think people want Borderlands, absolutely.
Yeah. So,
all right. Just scanning to see if there's any other comments in the chat that I wanted to address here. The Dusty Gamer says, I also hear rumors that Epic is trying to get MCC exclusively on the Epic Store. To answer Henry, that I believe is the Master Chief Collection, so Halo, the Master Chief Collection. Have you heard anything about them trying to get that as an Epic exclusive? I'm sure they are.
No, they won't.
They won't.
They're not getting it as an exclusive. They're not. Microsoft and Epic have not been playing nice recently. They've had a number of tiffs in the background. They've had a number of slights made against them. Epic views them as a competitor, and Microsoft views them as an upstart, somebody who's causing issues within the industry. And there's one thing that big corporates don't like, and that's people who muddy the waters. So, especially when it's coming from another group that's actively trying to, get into your face, right? So, because of that, it's like, I can kind of see why they're shying away a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's like you want to kind of avoid the generalized problems that that an upstart like that will cause. So yeah, no, Microsoft is, from what I've heard, Microsoft is steering very clear of them. Microsoft has in fact been working very, very closely with Steam, and they've already made an announcement that they've got content coming out for Steam that's going to be exclusive to Steam and the Windows Store, and they have been kind of chasing this ever since then. So I would, for sure, 100%, I would in no way, shape, or form throw out that we're going to see Steam come in or Epic come in and do something that they shouldn't. It's like, no, most likely not.
They may most try, likely but not. I mean, there's
from what I've heard from very reliable sources, they've already tried and they've already been turned down several times, and I can attest to that because of what we've been able to see so far. Of course, we're going to see this. This is really going to play out. Of course, this is going to play out massively when it comes out to when it comes out to the E3 showcase. We're going to see a lot of this stuff start to take hold. I mentioned a few weeks ago that we saw some big movement in the range of Microsoft working directly with Steam, and how they've been working on a potential partnership for the new Xbox, meaning that we are likely to see, possible to see, that there's going to be a chance that the Microsoft, the new Xbox, the one that's coming out, will have a Steam app on it. This is, at the moment, possible. Not guaranteed, just possible. And I want to make sure that people understand that it's working its way into fruition. I haven't heard an update for a while now. They've been really tight-lipped on it. Don't count it as fact. I'm just throwing it out as what we have heard of recently. So yeah, that's pretty much where we're at currently with that. And I mean, like I said, E3, we're going to see a lot of this stuff come out, right?
Right. Starbuck United. It's strange, but I can't call Borderlands a looter shooter. It's such a new term to an old school gamer like me. It's just a game with loot. I mean, it is kind of a weird genre. I guess it's a subgenre. It's, it's a shooter with tons and tons of loot. I guess is what it comes down to. That's the, where you're the primary, the game mechanic sort of centers around loot drops, but it is kind of a nebulous thing to define, because you could have the same thing, like say it didn't actually include guns, say it was like a more fantasy setting. But it could be the exact same kind of loot, kind of central, and you couldn't call it a looter shooter. So it is kind of a strange term, but that is kind of the term that everyone's using. So yeah, that's what we use. All right, you are listening to the Augmented Reality podcast, and we love seeing everybody so active in the live chat. If you want to keep the conversation going after the live broadcast, we welcome you to join our Discord community. You can find the link in the description below. It's a place where you can chat with us and other Triple S fans about all the things we love to talk about and stay up to date about everything we're doing here at the Triple S League. Click the link below to join and say hi to us in the welcome channel. All right, so there's some interesting news out about EA, and we recently reached out to BioWare to get some comments on it, so we have some stuff to share on that front. So Electronic Arts is making some ripples right now due to some things that were said in a recent earnings call. And man, these earnings calls are certainly places where you can pick up some juicy info.
Yeah.
because they have to be, they have to be really open with their shareholders about certain things. And of course,
And
these things
it's
become public record.
Well, let me put it like this. So we're in a world where, they have to share some of this info. And it's like giving out certain puzzle pieces that are important to stockholders while holding back other pieces. Meanwhile, if you're in the industry and if you have connections, you get access to other puzzle pieces that you can kind of start to put together with this stuff, and you can start to see kind of a really clear picture. And then once you get some sources and you do some other stuff, you get a pretty clear indication, a pretty clear picture of what's going on. So this is where we're at. Basically, I've got a sad confirmation, and that is that EA is moving fully towards, with the exception of, I think, like only one of their current games, which is the Jedi.
Jedi Fallen Order, which, as we've confirmed before, was that was nailed down prior to EA's whole massive move toward only online service games, and had Respawn basically did their own thing with that one. So that's kind of the exception. But yeah, we've seen this massive trend toward only online service games loaded with microtransactions, things like that. All right. Anyway, continue what you were saying there, Saib.
Yeah. So past that, what we have now is we have them basically confirming that they're only working on live service games now going forward. And they're going to adopt the mobile, and this has all been confirmed in an article put out just today, that basically they're going to be adopting the mobile gaming format for how they work on their titles. So there's been a lot of people who don't really quite know how this works, so I'm going to do my best to explain it. So right now, say you have a big mobile game coming out, you're going to launch it to Canada, the UK, France, South Korea, and Japan, and that's it. Nobody trying to access your game from any other country or any other ISP is going to have success in doing it. They're also going to employ other things that are going to, check the data on your device when you're logging in to make sure that you're actually from those areas, or checking to see if, Google has a location on you to make sure that you're staying out of that stuff. So if you're trying to be sneaky, a simple IP change is often not enough to prevent you from getting the ban hammer at some point. So they now do this, and then they're now playing the game to a select number of people with some generalized NDAs. Basically, if you start to stream it, you'll get kicked off and you'll get in trouble for streaming it, that kind of stuff.
All right, just to be clear, because I'm a little fuzzy on what you're actually talking about. So are you talking about this is like their beta rollout?
No. This is the process in which they're testing games. Game testing.
The
mobile. No. This is. I need to be really clear here. There's testing games that you have that we see on a whole bunch of other games that we see all the time. The weekend betas, that kind of stuff. This is not that. This is completely different. This is the mobile market format for releasing your game. You release it to select regional areas and open up the community to play your game to a select few people. As an example, right now, Blades from Bethesda is out. Not everybody from every country can log in. America has access to it. A small handful of other countries have access to it. That is all. You do not have the ability to access the game in the country that we're in. You don't have the ability to access the game in most of Europe. You don't have access to the game in many other countries. You are flat out refused. And if you're trying to access the game on a device that has been locked down to be in another area, it will check your device, basically your device's fingerprint. And if you don't match up for the area, you get kicked off and banned. Until the game is launched in your region, you are out of the door. What this allows them to do is this allows them to create a smaller beta experience for select people in select markets test it there, work out the kinks there, then release to a larger market. It would be like basically taking Anthem and releasing it only in a handful of countries while they worked out the issues. Then once the issues were worked out and pretty much everybody was happy with the experience, then launching it to a global network, but still keeping it as a quote-unquote beta for an extended period of time post-launch, post-soft launch. The soft launch or the hard launch would be open to everybody from everywhere. Everybody could buy in or play in if it was free to play, access the game, be in the game, but it's still considered beta, like Fortnite is. Fortnite's not released yet. It's still in beta. And while it's still in beta, they can make a ton of changes to it, alter it. And what do you hear whenever somebody complains about it? Well, dude, it's a beta. What do you expect? It's not the full game. It hasn't released yet. And while that gets old with some people, it's still used as a very strong defense for a lot of people in general. So this isn't just them saying, hey, in the future, instead of having the 3 beta events that we had for Anthem, we're going to have 7 beta events for Anthem spread over about the same amount of time. No, what you're going to get is you're going to get full access to the game for certain restricted regions while you work out the gameplay. Then you're going to launch in other areas to a much larger audience once the game is more or less confirmed. This goes from their PR and their developers being very much of a showcasing a game to being communicating about the game. So you're not showcasing Anthem to a wide audience. You're now getting involved, saying, here's our early alpha build. What do you guys think? What do we need to change? What do we need to do? Here's a wipe 1 month. We're going to not wipe it for the next 10 months. We might not wipe it ever again. That kind of slow process as they work towards a global release. Then the global release hits, then everybody can have at the game altogether. That's the new format that they're going with. It's been massively incorrectly labeled as, they're just going to have more betas. No, they're going to have more full-time betas that last for a year or more in most cases. And with Dragon Age, it's like a full release.
It's like a full release. It's just it's region restricted, and this kind of is accomplishing the same goal that is the purpose of doing a limited beta test. But
now the way that they're going to work this in is that if you're paying for the $20 a month EA Super Pass, basically all access pass, then you might be able to shortcut some of that regional locking stuff. But you are going to be informed that this is still a beta and it's an early gameplay, and they haven't released it yet. But because you're so special, because you're paying them $120 a year, $240 a year, that you're cool enough that you get in to play this kind of content from the early stages. So what we're going to see with Dragon Age is most likely going to follow this. They're already preparing to follow this venture. So the game will be locked to certain countries or certain regions, and you will not be able to get in to play it. And then you'll be providing feedback and information and getting on the forums quite regularly and comment mission and thing that you do until they finally think they have a game that's passable and popular, and then they're going to release it to everybody. And maybe throw in the special people who throw $240 at them every year. So that's what we're looking at right now.
All right.
What is messy.
So it does seem like this could have some interesting issues. It's definitely a new way of doing things.
Yeah.
What is the
not new.
This is no. It's like you said. This is sort of how things have been running in the mobile market to a large extent.
This has been going on for mobile for a long time now. So Raid, King's Raid, what was that other one? 7 something. Blades, of course. These are all really popular, really high money makers because they're all loot box or driven games on the mobile devices that have come out, released for areas, and done basically the same thing. And basically they're able to refine the game, get it to a point where it's good, get it to a point where it's not too microtransaction-y, but it's a microtransaction-y enough. You don't want to make a game that scares people away, but you also don't want to make a game where you could be making $200 from every person every, year versus, not. So that's kind of more or less where they're aiming at it, is like make it so you have the highest number of whales and the highest number of like microtransactions with the lowest amount of bleed off from people who are, peeved about the concept.
So it seems like their goal is a smoother launch with fewer problems, and of course with games like Anthem and before that Mass Effect Andromeda, I could see where they'd want to avoid some of the negative press and some of the problems that have arisen with those games. And it's true that AAA games are just getting so massive now that, possibly the process needs to change, but you don't sound too enthusiastic about this, Simon. So what do you see as what's going to be the negative ramifications of them going this way?
Well, no, I'm all for them opening up communication and involving more people in the game creation phase. That's overall good. It's the tie-in to the permanent status of everything as a live service. There is no single player games coming. There is going to be very little single player content coming. We are mostly going to see, as a majority, nothing but this really frustrating, really aggravating style of nonstop, games as a service, with just microtransactions shoved in your face, unique ways to make you, we've seen EA and Activision messing around with this concept of having it so that, you're doing good, but you've been totally free to play, and they're going to start putting you against like more and more people that are just more skilled enough than you, that they keep trouncing you. And they're going to keep throwing these ads saying, "Hey, if you buy this, this is going to improve your gameplay." And then you cave and you buy that one thing. Suddenly, the game is going to now put you against people who are slightly lower on the skill level than you are. So you're going to be going from playing from the people who are your slight betters on average per match to playing against people who are their betters in average. And then you're suddenly going to say, "Wow, it must be the microtransaction," right?
Yep,
and so
it's going to create
then
that
you're gonna,
association in your mind.
yes, and you're going to have this mental association of having this awesome experience after you shelled out some money. And they're going to keep with this. They're going to keep pushing this stuff. And this is what I don't like. This is what I don't enjoy seeing. This is what's disturbing to me on all accounts. Now, if they were to just stick with basic cosmetics and just offering good content in the form of DLC and stuff like that, I'd be happy with that. That'd be fine. That's not necessarily the perfect world. It's not, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, okay, you guys can make some money just so long as you're not nickel and diming me and trying to bleed me every chance that you get. I don't like that. It's not cool. But they may be forced to do this because, as a side note to this story, just today, actually I think it was yesterday, there's a very positive bipartisan group with a law moving through the states that's potentially going to ban loot boxes, period, outright. Banning any kind of random chance that you get when you're opening up a digital service within a live service video game. This is looking like it's going to pass because this isn't like Hawaii tried to do this a little while ago and they kind of fell flat because it was not the party in power. This one's the party in power, plus they have a bipartisan support for it, which means both sides of the fence are now activating this. And we warned you, EA. We warned you. We told you, not just us, many other channels, many other game developers, many people in the industry, tons of analysts. We all told you, if you try and take too much of a bite from the golden apple, it's going to get stuck in your throat and you're going to die. Actually, we told you that the government would get greedy and they would clamp down on you. And this is what's happening. I'm not a fan of government intervention, aside from like keeping things, basically enforcing like freedom of speech and keeping people generally, keeping the making it so that monopolies don't, control everything. That's about the only, like, when it comes to business, that's about the only thing that I want a government to do, which is not much. I can't reiterate how useless government is in the most part in doing anything. They're constantly failing at everything they do. It's just part of their nature. I've never seen a government be effective at pretty much anything. Excuse the rant, but in this particular case, we warned you that this would happen, and now it's starting to happen. Now. I'm kind of in the mood where it's like, yeah, do it. If this is all it's going to cover, if it's just an illegal ban on selling loot boxes to kids or games that target kids, so anything that's under an M rating, so an M rating and up is okay, you can have loot boxes in it. If that's what they do, and if that's all that they do, sign me up. I'm right there. I'm for that. Because that means that every single stupid game that they've slapped these stupid microtransactions into that are the primary money makers for EA and for Activision is going to be shut down, and I will be so thankful for that. I want to see the FIFA get just slammed. I want to see the racing games get slammed. I want to see Overwatch get slammed. I want to see all these games slammed up against the wall and have their loot box crappy system torn out from underneath them. If that's all this law is going to do, I am so for it, and I will encourage it every step of the way. What I'm afraid and what I'm worried about is this will make them step in and say, well, while we're at it, let's also define what's a mature game, and then let's also define what you can and cannot put in games, and then, hey, while we're at it, let's just, make a government agency that's going to overlook every aspect of the gaming industry and make it so that you guys are playing only the games that we're okay with playing. It's like, no.
That is the fear. No. Yeah, that's the concern.
The fear.
But it is, I mean, it's looking pretty inevitable that, I mean, it's already happened in several countries, and I think it was only a matter of time until it happened in a large market like the States that they would crack down on this. So
yeah. So
I had a thought. I had a point I was going to make, but it's completely slipped my mind now.
Well, I mean, when it comes to story games too, this is the other thing that we're losing story games. So now most gamers are in these games for gameplay, and this is something that's going to be more focused on. They're going to focus on this, but this also means that story, I think, is out the window at this point. From EA, story has definitely gone out the window. So, now this is good because most people like, they like good gameplay, but at the same time, it's like, good gameplay is like Minesweeper, right? You played Minesweeper.
Oh yeah. So like that's the kind of game that, yeah. I mean, I play it for the in-depth story. I mean, the gameplay is fun, but I mean, role playing as a lonely dude in a war zone where you make one wrong step and everything explodes in a shower of colorful numbers. Are you sure you're not talking about a lone guy dating? Because I mean that's kind of. I don't know what your dating experiences have been like, but mine have been like a minefield. Come to think of it, anyway, until I met my current wife, but my current wife, my only.
I'm pretty sure that's your only wife, unless you haven't told me something. I'm just saying.
My only wife I've ever had and intend to have. But actually, I remember what I was going to say though. So this thing about loot boxes, how does this relate to, say, physical goods? Now this is a little tangential, but it kind of relates.
Well, I mean, the whole tie-in, the whole tie-in with the loot boxes, where they compare them to, like, playing cards, or not playing, like baseball cards, not playing cards, baseball cards, where you collect and you get you never know what you get in the pack, that kind of stuff. The general thought though is that's something that people can trade and sell, and that's not the case. That's strictly not the case in these games. Plus, it's a totally different thing, and it's also the cause and effect. Very few baseball card collectors ever got addicted to gambling. A lot of kids, a lot of 9-year-old to 12-year-old kids have become addicted to gambling after having played Overwatch, COD, FIFA, etc., etc., etc. That is enough now that there's a provable link. That's the thing that's going to kill EA and Activision and all these companies who have turned their entire profit margin on relying on this stuff instead of relying on making good games. And this is the whole problem. That all we've been asking for is for these companies to make good games. Period. That's all we want. We don't care about the rest of this garbage. We don't like, it's so frustrating. It's like, just make good games. That's it. That's all you have to do. Cyberpunk, is going to be looking like it's going to be a good game. The Witcher was a great game. Make stuff like that. Go out of your way to make a good product and do it right, and the market will reward you. Instead of they're looking at, again, these bad analysts who tell them, well, if you can siphon enough money from the kids and turn them into addicts, then you'll have them for life. It's like, what kind of lawyer, what kind of analyst did you get? Did you call 1-800 Hellspawn for that? Did you call up hell and say, hey, send us your most scummiest, dirtiest lawyer that you could possibly find to help us work out how to do this in the best possible way? It's like, good Lord, I don't know how some of these people sleep with themselves. Like how some of these people get sleep, knowing that they're going to work to design a system which will get 9 and 12-year-olds addicted to gambling so that lifelong they'll be addicts of your product. It's like, what kind of people create this stuff? I'm just curious. It's like there's making a good product, like making a donut. Donut, you don't go out of your way to find a way to make the donut irresistible to people to the point where they're just lined outside your, well, I have seen some people line up outside of donut doors. I have another little thing that's really funny. So today we had an alert. I don't know if you heard the alert for the cell phones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got it as well. Yep.
Yeah, so it's pretty funny. So it's a like, whole western end of the country basically got this test for this, for an emergency alert. So the phones go off, dee doo dee doo dee doo, then it gives you the alert, and then you're like, okay, but this was a test, right? This test I've received about 10 text messages about this alert in the last 2 weeks coming up to this. It's constantly like, hey, just so you know, on this day there's going to be an alert. Was in the grocery store when the alert went off, and I'm in an aisle, and there's 5 other people in the aisle, and I hear the alert from everywhere in the store. Everywhere in the store, the alert's going off nonstop. And I've got I had 3 phones on me. 3 phones, right? So I've got to switch it off on all 3 phones. And that goes out. That happens, and there's this lady in the aisle who starts screaming we're all gonna die, we're all gonna die, what's going on, I don't understand, what's going on, what's happening, I don't understand. And then she said some other stuff, and it's like, calm down, holy crap, you're not going to die, it's a test that everybody's been informed of over and over and over and over again. But this is exactly like what EA is doing. It's like they've ignored every possible warning, and then when it comes to fruition, they're caught off guard. I don't know how well that connected into the story, but I thought that was just hilarious today.
That was a decent metaphor.
I tried really hard not to laugh at the lady directly, because I knew, she thinks she's going to die, right? You don't laugh. You try not to laugh at people who think they're going to die, who legitimately think that they're going to die. Laugh behind their back, but don't laugh directly at them. Because that's just going to make them feel worse. And it's like a person
Good
like
life
that.
advice for all the kids
There's
listening.
no point in making them feel worse. They're already kind of more or less at the bottom of the barrel. So it's like just, hey, it's okay. Things are going to be just fine. In fact, you know what? I bet you it's just a test. let's look at your device. Oh, look at that. It says it's just a test. See? Don't have to worry. Now go on your way. And then, in your mind you're like, bless your heart. For those of you who don't know, who didn't grow up or spend any time in the South, in the States, bless your heart means you're an idiot. It's like, Bob went bankrupt. Oh, bless his heart. Like Timmy fell down and broke his leg when he was trying to climb a tree. Bless his heart. It's like, that, yeah. Anyways, it's the nice way of telling somebody you're an idiot because, anyway. So that's, yeah. Overall, I think looking at the ramification that's coming, this might make EA a better company. But honestly, to me, it feels like they're just trying to move the goalpost to try and continue to soak up that wonderful, wonderful bonus money.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, I think you hit on the key point of this. We have a variety of opinions, even in our chat today, about okay, are loot boxes okay in free-to-play games and just not in games you pay for, or are they just not okay at all? What about other kinds of microtransactions? Because loot boxes aren't all microtransactions. There's the kind where you just see a thing you want, you buy that thing. Then of course there's the loot box kind. There's other different kinds. I think you really hit on the key point, which is the predatory practices of these companies, especially when they're aimed at children with the intention of getting kids addicted or adults. But getting anybody addicted, but it's especially nefarious when it's aimed at children. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, is the key thing. And it's the psychology on these types of things is very well understood, very well established. We're talking hundreds of years of research. That
it's like that old term, you get what you deserve. In the case of I think it's most commonly used in elections and stuff, and it is kind of here. You're a force, a major force in the cultural development of kids, right? So if you teach, if you have a classroom of 10 kids and you teach 8 of them to be, psychopathic, murdering, crazy people as an extreme, okay, I'm using an extreme example, but then you have to live in an area with these people. When you're old, don't be surprised if suddenly you have a psychopathic, murdering, crazy person in your bedroom, looking to dice you up in the middle of the night. It's like that. Again, really extreme example, but this is what EA is doing. EA is so this is the thing that, okay, that's a really extreme example, and I take it back. It doesn't work. It's too silly and too extreme. Here's another extreme. Here's another example. It's a little bit on the extreme end, but not too much. As an executive of a big company, you want to hire people for big positions that are reliable, trustworthy, and aren't going to do anything that's going to get you in trouble. You're handing over big keys to the company to these people because you can't run everything. You're raising a bunch of people who are going to get into your industry, who are going to look to get to be playing in your industry, that you've given them an addiction to gambling as they've grown up. Gamblers have a bad habit of embezzling money and stealing from the company for this problem that's a significant problem in their life. I'm just pointing out the example that EA, you're kind of setting yourself up to run into an issue where you're not going to be able to trust the next generation of developers and CEOs who are going to take over your keys to the kingdom while you try and have a nice retirement. You might just find that one day, they gambled it all away. Does that metaphor make more sense?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. So that's where I was trying to go with the first one was just way too wrong.
But there's going to be they're creating a problem, and then they're going to be stuck with some of the consequences of that problem. That makes a lot of sense, and I think that is. You want companies to be kind of aware of things like that, but at the same time, they're just interested in fattening up their pocketbooks.
And it's honestly quite scary. So yeah, overall, I think we can we can look at this and say, EA, again, they might be moving in a good direction, but they could just use this as a chance to create nothing but, just garbage. And that's going to suck for companies like BioWare, who are going to end up crashing and burning with them, because eventually this is going to catch up to them. Eventually they're going to get caught, because like we've seen with Activision, they had a mildly okay year last year, but they've bombed in late last year, and then early this year it's just not been going well for them. And there's only so far that you can ride this kind of wave. It's like, you're basically being a surfer, where you're riding a wave until it peters out. Now, can you ride it for a really long time? Well, Activision's been quite successful at that. They've been riding a number of titles for a very long time without spending very little to next to nothing on developing anything new. And then you have EA that's starting to do the same, and we start to see them run into these big problems, and these big problems might end up sinking them. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyways.
The government's bringing the hammer down now. And so that's going to cause, if they've got so much, they're so reliant on this kind of income, this could be a very big problem for their company.
Yeah. You know what? We should have actually invited Neon onto the show today because I didn't realize he was going to stick out here through the whole thing. So, hey, good to see you. To answer your question, so one phone is for personal use. It's my baby, of course. The other phone is for the tech job that I currently work. And then the other phone is for the black market stuff and shady dealings, and it's just a burner phone. So it's like, drop it whenever I see guys in suits coming, or throw it off a bridge.
Did your inhibition chip malfunction again? That was quite the thing.
Oh,
to say.
Look at that! I had it turned off the whole night. Oh, for crying out loud!
All right. Well.
On here.
Well.
Okay.
I
it's
guess
back on.
I think that wraps up the show right there. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for supporting this show, for the great conversation in the chat. Thank you especially to our Patreon supporters, Old Man Manson, Shannon Vega, and our 2 anonymous supporters. Channel member Captain Dammit, great to see you in the chat as well today. And to everybody who supports this channel by liking, subscribing, and leaving comments down below. If you haven't yet, please slam that like button. It likes it rough, and it tells us in YouTube that you appreciate this content, and we really appreciate that. There are a lot of ways to support this channel and this content that don't involve money, and we appreciate all of it. Commenting, too, if you're listening after the fact, commenting on videos is really good for the analytics and the algorithms, so we definitely appreciate that. Just whatever thoughts you have about our content, we appreciate reading them as well. If you're listening after the fact on SoundCloud, iTunes, or Spotify, we thank you for subscribing and reviewing the show there as well. And feel free to join us on Saturday morning and Wednesday evening for the live show, where you can interact with us and other listeners and be a part of the discussion live on the Triple S League YouTube channel. So we definitely recommend checking that out. We have tons of other content there as well. The Augmented Reality Podcast is a presentation of the Triple S League. Check out our YouTube channel for game guides, reviews, comedy, news updates, and tons more quality gaming content. My name is Asheninity, and on behalf of Subsidian, thank you all so much for listening. And we will talk to you on Saturday for the next podcast. And there's hopefully going to be some more fun content coming in the next couple days. So definitely keep your tabs open for that. We'll talk to you later.